if you want to support the show, you can go to mwpnews.com/support, where you can pick up my latest book, Succession Planning, and all my other books that have previously been released on Kindle for only $2.99 each. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the Backlog Files. I am Adam, and today we are continuing to dive into the world of Pokemon. Pokemon games and all of that. And I think what we're getting to now is the first real... what's the one I'm looking for here? Where's my list? I have a list of all the Backlog Files. Fuck, that's not the right link. Where is this file? Here it is. Okay. Trading card game. That's what we're on today. Trading card game. And I think that this is kind of the first of the modern Pokemon spin-offs. What I would consider the modern Pokemon spin-off. And I think for what this game is, I think it holds up very well in a world where I don't know if it's necessarily the best game. Now, I did play this game as a kid. Full disclosure. And the first time I played it was because I had rented it at American or Hollywood Video, or American Video, because it wasn't even Hollywood Video. It was like the not off-brand, but like the one that was near my house. And I think I rented it there. It was like that, and I seem to recall there was a Sega. Oh, Sonic and Knuckles was the other game that we used to rent there a lot for the Sega Genesis. But either way, not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is, it's a Dunkin' Donuts now. Either way. So we rented this game, and I was young at the time. I was relatively young, and I didn't read the instruction booklet, so it's kind of trying to figure out how to play a game that's very reading intensive while having minimal reading ability, which did not bode well, especially considering at the time I had Pokemon cards. So I would have been about like 6. Well, no, I was able to read, but like the semantics of how the game worked, especially considering they don't give you a ton of time. Like, it's not like the base Pokemon game where you kind of are dropped in and the game kind of not railroads you in the early games, but kind of guides you on how to get to the point where they're going to teach you how to play the game. And now it's even more different, where now it's kind of guiding you the entire way through. In this, it's very... you got to figure it out. And that was something that didn't quite click with me, being 6 years old and like, fuck it, I'll just go play something else. And then I ended up playing, more Pokemon Red and Blue. Maybe I would have 4 years, because this is the late 90s, so I would have been like 4 years old. There's a lot of big words in this game for someone who's 4 years old. I'll defend myself on that one. But regardless, so I didn't get a ton out of it. I remember the aesthetic being like, oh, it's kind of like Pokemon, but like slightly different, and the environments aren't quite as big. And the trading cards, and I had trading cards at the time, but no one played Pokemon Trading Card Game by the rules back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's like, energy cards? What the fuck is this? It's like, and the energy cards made the game run so slow, and when you're an overeager child, you're like, oh, fuck this. I want to just play the game the cool way. Can we just skip, like, I gotta evolve on 3 separate, if I want Charizard out, I gotta evolve on 3 separate turns. Fuck this shit. Let's just move on. So this game didn't quite gel with me back then. Then it came to Nintendo Switch Online, and I went back and played it. And I don't think the AI is the best in this game. I don't think the AI ages particularly well, which does lead to the issue of, like, the game is a little on the easy side. And once you get going, and once you kind of, like, the base deck isn't great, but once you start winning, it's very easy to get a cascading kind of system of wins where you become near unstoppable. And I think that that's kind of where this game kind of isn't the best. And I think it's light on story. That said, I would like to see them revisit this. Like, this is the kind of thing where I think, like, I know they have the one that's available on your phone. I don't play that one, but, like, I know that exists. But I think that, like, one on the Switch could do a lot. Like how they brought back Pokemon Snap. That could be a really big thing. And it could be interesting. And I think the Pokemon trading card game has kind of changed and has become kind of unruly with its rules and all of that. I think it is a little bit I've talked about this before, where it's like the Pokemon trading card game, you can only use certain sets in tournament legal play. If you're like, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh, where you can use anything as long as the card's not banned, the Pokemon trading card game, you very much are limited by what's available. So that would be an inherent barrier to entry, because you wouldn't want, like, you'd obviously want people to be able to use any set in the game, but at the same time, you wouldn't want to be TG Heal. That's how they can actually play, because they don't, like, every time a new set comes out, it rebalances the game. And then that's why, okay, we're going to take this one out, we're going to put this one in, and it's a cycle of balance. You can't really do that in this situation. So I can understand why they've never remade this. But it's cool. I appreciate the game. I do find it fun enough to make it worth playing, especially now that it's included on Nintendo Switch Online. This is in the base, not even with the expansion. I think that some of the gameplay can get repetitive, which is kind of what it is, and I think the issue is too, because this is so early in the life cycle of Pokemon, because this is set in Generation 1, very much so you're bound to play with just the sets that were available at the time, which I think is up to Laboratory, if that was the third. I think there's only 3 sets in the game. And I think all 151 Pokemon are in the... No, I don't think Mew's in the game as playable, but I think all the Pokemon are in the game in some capacity. It's just it gets so repetitive because everyone's used... Oh, no, it's not all the Pokemon. They didn't have all the Pokemon in that. There's no way that's all the Pokemon. There's no way that Growlithe and Arcanine can pop up as often as they do if all the Pokemon are in the game. And again, the meta's not fantastic at this state, where there is a lot of, like, oh, you can very easily get to a point where if you just bide time, you can sweep at a certain point, even with type advantages being what they are. And that's another thing that people are going to have to get to understand, this idea that the type advantages and everything that work in the base game don't always carry over perfectly, which is another thing that is going to be another little barrier for entry for people who are going in to play it. That said, I would recommend it. I do enjoy it, and it is fun enough to make it worth your time. Maybe it's not a great game for long sit-down play sessions. Like, I don't think the game is especially with how repetitive the gameplay is and how limited it is in the deck count, it's something that you're going to probably get bored of relatively easy. But based on where we are now in the ranking, let me just pull up the rankings real quick. We have right now, number 1 we have Pokemon Yellow, number 2 we have Pokemon Snap, number 3 we have Red and Blue, and number 4 we have Hey You Pikachu. I think this is a solid number 3. No, you know what? This is the new number 4. I mean, look, I can't say it's better than Red and Blue, because Red and Blue I will go back and play any day of the week. I will go back and play Red and Blue. Like, if I get bored, that's a great game. Those are great games to get back into. Yellow, another example. Snap, I will go back and replay. This one, I don't see myself going back into because of how repetitive the gameplay is. That said, it's not the worst game, and I think that by the time we get to the end of this is going to be in the mid-tier of this ranking. But I don't think this is going to be down at the bottom. Like, we're not going to be cratering out with this down at the bottom. I think that I'm going to have this higher, like, thinking ahead, I think this ends up higher than, like, Puzzle League. I think this ends up higher than Trozy. I think this ends up higher than Detective Pikachu. Like, I don't think this ends up cratering out the list. Like, if I just look at cursory look at the list as it is now, like, Dash, like, and some of the later games, like, I don't think this ends up down at the bottom. But we'll see. We will see where this ends up at the end. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode... Why did I minimize it? Because I still need that up. Our next episode that we're going to do is Pokemon Stadium, and then Pokemon Pinball the next 2 weeks, and then Pokemon Puzzle League / Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. I don't know why I bundled those together. Maybe it's because I fucked up. And I didn't want to... Right, because 319 I wanted to have there. So, yeah. So we will be talking about Pokemon Stadium next week. So until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.